Alright everyone, so how many of you guys have opened shards before, gotten a certain champion, and not realized right away whether that champion was good or bad? Well, that is what I wanted to help out with today, and this is especially going to be important because we actually have a summoning event coming up, and this one is for Sacred Shards. So I really wanted to focus on the epics that you can pull from Sacred Shards, so we're not going to go over voids today. But with everyone pulling, I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of people getting tons of epics, and you definitely want to know which ones to be on the lookout for. So let's go over that, and we're going to go with a bit of a quick pace today because I actually want to go through all of the different factions here. So let's go through the highlights of each faction and which epics you want to be on the lookout for. So we're going to start off with the Banner Lords, and in the Banner Lords, the top epic that you want to be on the lookout for, non-void of course, is this guy right here, Stag Knight. Absolutely fantastic champion, honestly one of the best epics in the game, and if you pull this guy, you definitely don't want to use him as food. Second place is probably going to end up being Oathbound here, another good champion. Don't want to use this guy as food at all. So next up, we're going to go over to the High Elves, and High Elves are an absolutely insane faction for epics. In fact, I would say all of the non-void epics in the High Elves are actually decent or better, but there are some absolute game changers in here, including a top 3 epic that's going to end up being your Tyrell right here. Phenomenal defense-based champion, but besides Tyrell, you also have Royal Guard, which is another top epic in the game, absolute keeper. You also have Thenacel. This guy is a keeper for sure. And then Vergis is another champion that's not talked about quite as much, but definitely a good one, especially for Fire Knight because of his reflect damage. So High Elves is a phenomenal faction for epics. Next up, we've got the Sacred Order, and Sacred Order actually has, in my opinion, a couple of underrated epics. I don't think people talk about Frostbringer a whole lot, but she's definitely going to be a keeper because she's got that decreased defense here. And she also has this increased speed and increased attack. So some very, very strong support right there. You also have Juliana, of course, phenomenal clan boss champion. She's got that poison and that HP burn. You also have Eothar next to her, who is decent because of his poison right here. He's got attacks 4 times at random, which is going to be great against the clan boss. And of course, it's got that poison attached to it. But also a little bit of an underrated champion is Romero. Definitely not a bad defense-based champion. So those are kind of the highlights from Sacred Order. Definitely going to be the champions you want to be on the lookout for. And don't use any of those guys as food. Now we move on to the Barbarians. Now the great thing about Barbarians are some of the best epics in Barbarians. You don't actually have to rely on RNG. You have High Khatun right here, but you're actually going to get her from your daily login rewards. So, you know, you don't really have to worry about that. In fact, I don't even think you can end up pulling her from Sacred Shards anymore. And you have Vala as well, which she is an Amazon Prime epic. If you don't have her, I believe you could still pull her. But you did have there was an opportunity to end up getting her, and she's also probably one of the highlights from the Barbarians faction. Now let's move on to the Ogrin tribe. Now Ogrin tribe has one of the best epics in the game because he's the only epic that has basically a full team counterattack, and that is going to be Skull Crusher. And it's this ability right here. It doesn't actually put a counterattack on himself, so it's not quite a full team counterattack, but it's pretty darn close. And that alone is going to make him phenomenal for things like the clan boss. So this guy is a 100% keeper, actually one of the epics that you really want to be on the lookout and hunt for. And you also have a couple of other ones here. Now, the other one that stands out is Occult Brawler. He's really going to be mostly for the clan boss because of his passive and his poison that he has. That's kind of his specialty. Also one of the epics that you might want to consider not actually skill booking because of his second ability. And then the other guy that stands out here is going to be Cagebreaker. Just another decent overall epic champion. I would not end up using this guy as food at all. So that's going to be the Ogrin tribes. Now let's move over to the Lizardmen. Now in the Lizardmen, you have the 2 J's. Of course, the big one that stands out to most people, an absolute keeper, one of the best epics is Jareg. This guy is great, super great defense, I guess technically HP based, but he's going to be tanky is what I mean with that there. He's got his decreased attack on his auto. He's got his increased defense on all allies, ally protection on all allies, can get that down to a 4-turn cooldown. And also his passive is pretty solid as well. He's got that ally HP in all battles by 33% aura. Of course, he's an HP-based champion, so he's just overall an absolutely phenomenal epic. Now, you do also have Jarang here, which, you know, people have mixed opinions about. I still think he's a keeper for sure, even though he's attack-based. The main thing about him is this ability right here. where you've got the attacks 3 times at random, has a 50% chance of placing a decreased attack, and also a decreased defense, both on the same skill right there, and you can get that down to a 3-turn cooldown. That, as well as his ally speed in dungeons effect, but those are kind of the 2 J Lizardmen that stand out. Now we move on to the Skinwalkers, and Skinwalkers has one champion in particular that really stands out here. Again, going to be one of those champions you probably want to be on the lookout and hunt for, and that is Steel Skull. This guy right here is phenomenal. Great support-based champion. He's got his poison right here, which you can actually up the chance quite a bit with skill books. Removes all debuffs from a target ally and heals them by 40%, which you can boost as well. Get that down to 3 turns, and he's got this. Places a 60% increased defense buff on all allies, and then heals them by 20% of their max HP. So just a great support-based champion. Phenomenal for the clan boss. Now let's move on to the Orcs. Now, Orcs has one of the best DPS-based champions in the game. Zargala, of course, absolutely a keeper. One of those champions where when you get here, you're going to want to consider taking her to level 60 and 6 stars as soon as you can. Phenomenal DPS with her skill kit right here. Now, another champion that you want to be on the lookout for, and I have personally not built this guy myself yet, but I've heard very, very good things, I guess built her, is Sandlashed Survivor. And she's got some great skills here. I'll have to do some more experimentation, but I have been told definitely don't use her as food. She is a keeper, and if built properly, actually quite a big game changer. Now, a champion that I have built and that I do recommend that you keep absolutely is Vrask. This guy is a great support. Sure, maybe later on if you're endgame, you'll eventually end up replacing him, but he's got one of those support skills here where if built properly with the crit rate, he's going to keep your team alive, which is going to be really useful in tons of different situations. So keep this guy if you get him. Alright, now let's move on to the Demonspawn, and this is actually an interesting one because one of the best champions, I actually don't have her yet, which is crazy considering the amount of summons that I've done. I do not have Allure, but she's going to be one of those champions you want to be on the lookout for. And then, you know, Demonspawn has a lot of interesting champions. I would say Iranus is good. You can actually end up getting her through the, I believe, the Rosin fusion, so you don't have to rely on her for RNG. She is attack-based, so a bit squishy, but going to definitely provide some good DPS for the clan boss. And the only other big considerations here are the next 2 champions here, Nazana and Infernal Baroness. The thing that stands out is they are AoE, so you've got 2 area of effect epics in the Demonspawn, so if that's a role that you're still looking to fill and you don't have a rare champion that does that, definitely keep an eye out for them as well. Alright, now we are going to move on to the Undead Hordes. Now, the Undead Hordes is just quite simply one of the best factions in the game, especially for epics. You just have some game changes in here. Of course, Gorgorab is phenomenal, especially for the arena. They had a summon event specifically just for that guy. You have Seeker as well, another very, very good champion if built properly with lots of speed. Definitely can be a game changer in the arena. You also have, let's see here, Mausoleum Mage. This guy is phenomenal for a support-based champion. Probably, again, one of the best epics in the game, so absolutely keep an eye out for him. Do not use this guy as food. But going back, even Catacomb Counselor, this ability right here is really, really useful, especially for things like the Fire Knight. Teams up with 3 random allies to attack a single enemy. The allies joining the attack will use their default skills. That is great. So this guy is going to be a keeper. There's so many in the Undead Hordes. I want to make sure to try not to miss at least too many of them out. Although with a video like this, you know, there's always going to be certain champions that don't make it, but let's see, you have Husk here as well, which he has the based off of enemy max HP, one of the most powerful DPS based abilities because it's going to scale not just off of your gear, but off of the total HP of enemies that you're facing. So whenever you're killing stuff or attacking stuff with lots of HP, he's going to do a ton of damage there. And Zelotod, this guy is another one that I don't have, but he's another good champion with an overall solid skill kit that you are going to want to keep. So Undead Hordes, just overall, whenever you find somebody in the Undead Hordes, always take a second look because there's just so many good champions in this faction. And now let's move on to the Dark Elves. So Dark Elves has a couple of the best Void epics, but in this video we are not talking about Void epics, but all three of them are absolute keepers. Of course, Madame Cerise, one of the best in the game. We're not going there though, because this video is not about Voids, but non-Voids. Let's talk about, let's see, Crimson Helm is definitely going to be a solid champion with a decent skill kit. Not going to want to end up using her as food. Sure, you might not end up using her in the late game, but if you are, still building up your, champions, definitely going to be a keeper. And then you have Warden here, another decent champion. You've got Weaken on the auto attack, and just a decent skill kit with reflect damage as well. Great for the Fire Knights. And now let's move on to Night Revenant. Now, Night Revenant has a top 3 epic. Arguably the best, wherever you put this epic, 1, 2, or 3 on your list, definitely one of the best in the game, and that is Miscreated Monster. Absolutely, nightmares are using this guy as food right here. He's definitely better than tons of legendaries in the game. That is how good he is, so complete game changer. You have Sinesha, another good area of effect champion, probably one of the stronger area of effect epics. The only other one that really comes to mind would be Skullcrown, but she's a Void, so we're not going to talk about that. Let's see who else. Doom Priest is another solid epic in the Night Revenants with a decent skill kit right here. Increased attack on all allies with a solid passive, and she's got Force Ally. I guess it's Force Allies, though. And, of course, you've got Sepulchre Sentinel, one of the newer epics who has a very solid skill kit with some good buffs and debuffs. So you have the decreased attack debuff, and you also have increased defense and block debuffs on all allies for 2 turns. You can get that down to a 4-turn cooldown. And then you have her passive you can boost this quite a bit, chance of blocking damage when an ally is attacked. So very, very good defensive-based champion with a solid skill kit, and even a good aura. Increases ally defense in all battles by 25%. Alright, and to end things off here, we have the Dwarves. Now, the Dwarves are, of course, the newest faction, probably the least fleshed out, not really a whole lot of champions here, but out of the 3 non-Void epics, honestly, all of them are going to be keepers here. So let's talk about Rearguard Sergeant first, because she has the decreased defense strong version on her auto attack. She also has the decreased attack on her second skill area of effect, and the ally protection and continuous heal buff on all allies except for her with a 3-turn cooldown. So just a solid defense-based champion as well, which is another strong point for her. You have Rockbreaker. This guy is going to be very defensive and can also do quite a bit of damage. He's defense-based. He's going to get more defense from his auto attack. And the really big highlight about this guy is his passive right here. So you can see, you can boost this up. Has a chance of decreasing damage inflicted on this champion by 50% each time this champion is attacked. So you can see how useful this guy can be in situations like the arena, because he's going to take way, way less damage. And you have Grizzled Jarl as well, definitely not a non-noteworthy epic. He's got the heal reduction, another defense-based. Place a block debuffs on all allies and a 60% increased defense on all allies for 2 turns. You can get that down to a 3-turn cooldown as well, which is great. And an AoE that has the decreased attack debuff as well. So all the dwarves are honestly pretty decent, and definitely going to be keepers. Don't want to use them as food. So again, I know that there are probably plenty of champions that I missed out in a video like this. It's always going to go like that when you make a very broad-based video, but at least this will give you some idea of some of the champions to look out for when you are summoning epics, especially with that summoning event going on. But even if you summon outside of that, this should give you a pretty good idea of kind of who to look out for. So I hope that this video helped out. Always room for, part 2, part 3 with videos like this, but that's going to be it for today. So if you guys enjoyed and you want more videos like this in the future, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate all the support. Feel free to leave a quick like as well. It means more than you can imagine, so thank you very much to all of you guys who decide to do that. And more Raid Shadow Legends videos, guides, tutorials, all that fun stuff should be popping up on the screen. We're getting close, I think 230 raid videos on the channel, so there should be plenty of stuff about anything that you are looking for. But if not, until next time, have a great day, everyone. Take care. This is Salt of the Salty Guild, signing out.